chairman of the session, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, to come and do this job. Thank you very much.
Why have other countries made it and we seem not to have been able to make it and continue to make it? In spite of what God has endowed us with. Late friend of mine, Amejoda, used to be angry when you talk about Nigeria and you say, let us pray to God. He will say you are tempting God. God has given you everything and you mess it up. You mismanage it and you are praying to God. That is tempting God. And I used to say to him, well, what is good needs prayer so that it can continue to be good. And what remains to be good needs prayer so that it can be good. But in our case, we need prayer. Yes, but in addition to prayer, we need to do what is right and do what is right consistently and continually. On one occasion, I took about 40 upcoming African young leaders to Singapore when Lee Kuan Yew was still alive. And I said to him on one occasion, I said, look, Lee, I have an NGO, Africa Leadership Forum, and I want you to come and address us. He said, no, if I travel against time, I'm useless for the next 48 hours. Why don't you bring those young African leaders to Singapore? I said, bring 40 African leaders to Singapore. I haven't got the money to bring them. He said, we will pay. And I took 40 African leaders from all over Africa to Singapore. For 3 days, he was bringing those who work with him to talk to us. And my young African leaders were all anxious. They are not as nervous as you are. And they were all anxious to get the recipe, to get the magic. And at the end of it, he said, there's no magic. They asked him, he said, there's no magic. We did a few things right, and we continue to do them right. No magic. We did a few things right, and we continue to do them right. And I believe it is in the line of Professor Dakon's book. At the end of that meeting, I said to my young African brothers and sisters, the takeaway is, what is your country doing right? And if your country, if you know what is your country doing right, does your country continue to do it right or to do them right? And if your country is not doing anything right, can you get something that your country would do right and will continue to do right? Now, for us in Nigeria, Professor Dakon to talk about Africanization of poverty. And I believe Jaga and Fairco will join us. I talk of Nigerianization of poverty for Africa. Because if Nigeria gets it right, the chances that we will become a catalyst for the rest of Africa to get it right. And for as long as Nigeria does not get it right, most countries in Africa will not get it right. It is simple. We form 20 to 25% of the population of Africa. And if 25% get it right, it will be an inspiration for others to get it right. So why have we got it with all that God has endowed us with? Why have we not got it right? I think that's part of what Professor Dakan will be telling us. But I believe three most important things that we need to get it right, that we don't seem to have, apart from leadership, is some focal point, something that we can all hold on to, some what else can I call it? Some core issue, some objective. What is that national objective that we can, in a simple, short statement, and that we can all chorus as we go along? We don't seem to have that. We seem also not to take national development and growth and goals seriously, but individual development. And if we go for only individual development, we are doing ourselves the greatest disservice. Because at the end of the day, what matters is national development. If the national development is there, infrastructure, growth, and all that, security, then we all are sure of development. Up till 1975, 75, there are no walls, no fences. We live, and no doors to your house, to your garden, to your gate. And you can go from anywhere to anywhere. The national security was reasonably what it should be. And as a result of that, the individual security was taken care of. Today, we compete. Your prison wall is higher than mine. Lack of a national focus, and of course, individualism rather than nationalism. Professor Dakan in his book states that some countries have made progress because the elite have collectively agreed to focus on economic development instead of their own selfish interests. I've underlined that. I ask myself the question, if this is something that we can do here in Nigeria, and I believe it is, but we need to know how and best way of doing it? Can we come together and agree that we will not continue to do the same thing we have done or we have been doing and which has not served our interest? Can we get our priorities right and do what is best for our nation in the short, medium, and long run? This is what we will be looking at with the author of this book this morning. I encourage everyone here present today to listen to what other countries have done and how they have made progress in developing their economies. I am sure that there's much that we can learn from these lessons and apply to our own situation. We only have one Nigeria, and if we continue to allow it to fall apart around us, we have ourselves to blame. But I will say again, and I think it's worth repeating, that there has been a period in this country when we have had critical mass of people to put things right, whether politically or economically. We had G34 in the time of Abacha. They stuck their neck out. Men, elite in this country, and confronted a military dictator. And they won the day. They won the day for themselves. They won the day for all of us. And we were all the better for it. Can our elite have a common goal, what I call common unity of purpose, commonality of goal, that will bind us together with critical mass of our elite to get our country right and going right.
Oh, okay.
Well said.
I think they deserve a second round of applause. That was indeed very enlightening. I hope inspiring to you. I would like to invite Agbojige and Ofowe Agimokwede to the stage to join them for. Yeah, but as we do so, these books are not meant for photographs. Oh, no doubt. I was just going to get to that. So, compliments of the Agimokwede Foundation. You are all getting copies of the book. I think we should clap for that as well, don't you think? So if we have we have the photographers in place. The Financial Times describes it as an urgent and important book. So do your best to take the time to read and digest it, and hopefully we can create that consensus